we arrived at the location of the wreck. We're kind of just sussing out where the currents are coming from, the wind, and lift the Mako up and then drop it in the water.
This underwater drone is built for more than finding shipwrecks. It can restore seagrass, secure critical infrastructure, support surveillance and reconnaissance missions, and even find underwater mines. This is Ulysses, a startup building low-cost autonomous vehicles that operate above and below the ocean's surface.
Just dunked Mako in for a swim.
Their bet, build modular drones that can adapt to take on almost any mission.
She's gonna go down now with some new sonars on her.
And today, the mission is to find a shipwreck hidden in the San Francisco Bay.
Oh, what's that? That's it, yeah.
A maritime graveyard that has swallowed ships for generations. From gold rush era vessels to modern boats, still sitting somewhere below the surface.
That looks badass.
But this mission isn't just about finding what's down there. It's a real-world test of how their $50,000 Mako performs outside the lab. Because for Ulysses, this is bigger than one dive. They're trying to build the drone fleet for the last frontier on Earth.
So this is how the Ulysses autonomous underwater vehicle works. So our vehicle sits here underneath the water in the water column. Autonomous underwater vehicles share a lot in common with autonomous aerial vehicles. The problem is that GPS, which you get from satellites up in space, only penetrates through water to a depth of about 5 centimeters. Our vehicles go to a depth of about 1.5 kilometers. When we're on the surface, we get a GPS lock and we get a good initial position. And then when we head under the surface, we start sending out sonar pings from what's called a Doppler velocity log. It then measures the distance it's traveled from its starting position, and this is a process called dead reckoning. Dead reckoning on its own is not incredibly accurate when you're trying to find your position underwater. So typically you need to couple it with what's called an inertial navigation system. And that's just an accelerometer and a gyro, like the sensors you have in your phone, but a lot more accurate. We have different modules which all come together to build the Mako. We can also outfit the Mako with sonar packages. Just as an example, one of the things that we can sense is an underwater mine. The Mako can go and find these mines, neutralize them, and make those passenger shipways clear. And it does this by, actually I shouldn't talk about that.
We're currently on the 6th iteration of the Mako platform. Then every 3-4 months, we'll do an iteration of Mako. Started very much with a focus on nature. We were building these drones to plant more seagrasses and map them and that sort of thing. Folks in the US Navy kind of heard about the vehicle and got really excited about it. The kind of mine countermeasures mission, which has obviously become super popular now with everything that's going on in the Straits of Hormuz.
Today, they're using that same tech to search for a shipwreck hidden beneath the San Francisco Bay.
Oh, this is it here. So you see like the sonar kind of beams through some of the hull. The front sonar on the Mako will give us a bit more depth to the image compared to what we see here.
The team is ready to deploy their $50,000 Mako.
We're just going to use this as a pretty basic controlled testing ground.
The mission, find a shipwreck and run a real-world test to see how the drone handles its new hardware.
What do you think?
Quite a lot of current still.
Yeah. So since we got here, the current has been just a little bit higher than we wanted to. We just want a bit more of a controlled environment with the heavier payload on the front. But unfortunately with the current, we can't really do that too well.
This one's nice because it's like such a big structure you can just so clearly see, but you just won't get a nice clear picture if the currents are just, it's like if I shake your camera like that, you know.
So for the sake of using our time well, we're going to go to our second plan B location. There is a possibility of seeing a wreck there.
This is a map of San Francisco Bay. This is our first office explosion and fire. This is a relic. Nearly killed our intern in the process. There's the shark, our 10-foot great white. We 3D printed all these fish to make like a kind of pseudo art installation to make you feel like you're underwater. Yeah, I love Steve Irwin. I've definitely always looked up to people that embodied that frontier spirit. This is where all of the actual manufacturing, building, testing here in the pool. Carbon fiber.
In this workshop, we design, we manufacture, we assemble, we iterate, we improve, we try and speed up our development process as much as possible because the domain we're working in is so difficult. We completely redesigned the mechanical fastening system for the robot in 3 days over 5 iterations. That would have taken an existing engineering company 3 months to do.
We've made pretty deliberate decisions to bring as much of the kind of manufacturing process in-house. So that's a plastic here that was done in-house on that machine there. Yeah, I'm the only co-founder without an engineering background, which is kind of funny that I'm the one showing you guys these machines.
We arrived at the location of the wreck. It's on the east side of Angel Island here in SF Bay. Essentially what we're really testing is kind of the handling of the robot with the extra payload on the front, ensuring that it's still responsive to our controls. Let the software guys get some kind of better characterized dynamics of the vehicle in the water. Yeah, we'll anchor up closer to there, put the water in.
We're good to go here. Drop it.
Get this off. Jeez. Oh. It's swimming. It's a good sign.
She's gorgeous, isn't she? Yeah, all our Makos get names. Is this Joe?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. The reason he's called Joe, he kept falling asleep. So they were Sleepy Joe.
This is Garibaldi. It's the state fish of California.
Wow, that's even a new one for me. We have another version of Mako on a head mount. That's Benjamin, because he electrocuted us in the water. And one of the main things you can see here is just the fact that these parts all come apart. This is the part of the modular design. You can take this apart and create a totally different vehicle in just minutes.
Yep.
We started with the goal of doing seagrass restoration, which is still close to our hearts, but there's so much more that we can do now.
So most AUVs today are just used for gathering data. They're not used to fix things underwater, drop things, place things, pick them up. There's a number of design features on this vehicle that make it uniquely capable of doing robotics underwater or doing actual work. This is the agility configuration. They're the agility thrust pods. We've put this in modes before where it literally walks through the water like a pencil. It can do a backflip. It can do what? It can move on any axis. This particular node cone has this forward-looking sonar and a downward-looking sonar. Sonar is how robots effectively see underwater, and it gives you a rich 3D map of what's going on. Right now, we're going to about 300 meters, 1,000 feet. Next version of the vehicle is going to go much deeper. 1,500 meters or 4,500 feet. There will be versions of this vehicle as well that go deeper that I can talk more about next year.
Today, the Mako doesn't need to go that deep. The real test: how does the new configuration handle the bay's turbulent waters? And can the sonar actually see what's down there?
Yeah, just dunked Mako in for a swim, and she's gonna go down now with some new sonars on her, and we're gonna see how they look. Staties on the sticks there.
Yeah, it's just a PlayStation controller.
You'd be surprised at what percentage of the global economy runs on PlayStation and Xbox controllers.
So we've got the feed from the forward-looking sonar. I think a sunken yacht maybe. Not 100% sure if it is actually here.
The San Francisco Bay is the resting place for countless sunken vessels, going back more than a century.
Oh yeah, that might be
what's
it.
that? That's it, yeah.
Is that a whale?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
The Mako's new sonar spots something.
Yeah, the forward-looking sonar has picked up an interesting shape that we think is a shipwreck, a downed recreational boat.
So judging by the scale, it's currently spanning roughly 4 to 5 meters, so potentially a smaller sailing boat.
Wow, you can see pretty clear rocks and stuff on the seabed. Damn, that's so granular. It's just very impressive.
Yeah, this is looking quite nice.
There you can see high fidelity objects on the seabed. Oh, that looks like an anchor.
Yeah.
That's an anchor.
Oh, it's pretty big.
That looks badass.
A lost boat, a possible anchor, clear images of the sea floor. For Ulysses, this is a win.
Good work. Good work, Sadi.
this new drone configuration works outside the lab.
Human culture, back to the earliest days, has revolved around the ocean. The human story is very much tied up with the ocean, and it's always had an important role in society, but the way we work at sea and how we interact with the ocean has not changed for decades. Functionally at Ulysses, what we serve to do is to make it easier and cheaper to operate at scale in the ocean and do important tasks. That is how we make the ocean safe, healthier and prosperous.
Mako, it doubles as a clothes dryer. The modular design really enables anything. You know?